So yeah, we had quite interesting few reactions from around the world. Obviously, there were few people within the U.S. Um, political class that have accused Russia and China of, meddling or exasperating the conflict. Russia and China both denied such allegations. Obviously, they said that they did not, try to make things worse or, through online meddling or whatever. That was part of it, but besides that, there was a clear joy within Russia and Chinese newspaper community, and they did mock America quite a lot. China went as far as to compare the riots to Hong Kong protests and argued that look at how they react when there is a security issue in their country, and they criticize us for when we react when there is a security breach in our country, which Hong Kong is part of China. So China's focus was very much drawing parallels within the way America reacts and the way they talk about other countries. Russia, obviously, the private news outlets, they were quite critical of US, again drawing parallels that look the way you treat your people and the way you feel threatened, and you talk about, oh, this is the worst thing that could have happened, and whenever these type of things happen to us, when we react, we are all dictators and we are all bad guys. So Russia focused on that as well. uh, so that was quite interesting. Iran also criticized the US. Rouhani went as far as to say that this is a clear demonstration of the failures of the Western democracy and Western values, which it's a bit of exaggeration, I think. Anyway, but so that was from Iranian perspective. The funny ones, I think I mentioned that in a previous podcast, previous video we did, was that Turkey issued a warning to its citizens that avoid US and avoid, like, they issued travel warnings, which is something US does all the time whenever there is like a kitten going missing in somewhere in Middle East. Oh, you shouldn't go there, it's a dangerous place, these unsafe countries where they still ride camels and shit. So yeah, they issued travel warnings to their people. Interestingly, so did you, not so much travel warning, UAE also warned its citizens to avoid public places, demonstrations, and busy places. So UAE also reacted that way. And by the way, everybody said that these were very sad moments to see, and everybody was very upset about it. And what else was? Oh, in Israel, everybody was very upset as well. Netanyahu said that this, what we see in Washington, is opposite of what America and Israel believes in. I don't know. And Benny Gantz, his Minister of Defense, and his former rival, said that whoever saw this, broke their heart. I don't know. I didn't break my heart, to be honest. It's just, yeah, the level of exaggeration from Americans in the, oh my God, this was an attack on blah blah blah, and then now people heartbroken for American democracy. I don't get it. So, maybe I'm a bit of a heartless son of a bitch. I don't know, but it just feels somewhat showy, and they're trying to make a big deal out of it. So yeah, these were some global reactions, very some hand-picked ones from the countries we cover usually,
Yeah, they're
but it was
funny.
quite
They're like
interesting.
they're like old school reactions. I feel because they we've moved on from saying these things a bit now. Because now there's so many examples of you see how they did it here, and now they say this. Like now, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like moved on, at least from like the left, the criticisms and stuff that were being made of what happened and the riot and stuff. It's
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
It's
No,
kind of
no.
moved on from these reactions that these countries had, whatever their officials. It's just funny. It kind of reminded me of like 5 years ago or something when there was like a terrorist attack or like a shooting or something. Kind of the same points would be made by everyone.
Sure, but I think that was mostly in the leftist
Yeah, yeah,
circles,
no, no, I know. It just reminded me of that.
but now it's going full on mainstream. So
Yeah.
with tweets and everything from.
Well, the
Oh,
mainstream thing.
interestingly, let me just add this to the China-U.S. relations. Pompeo, they U.S. sanctions I think 11 more U.S. Chinese officials over the Hong Kong issue, and then Chinese. This is apparently very derogatory to call someone a praying mantis in China, because apparently it means somebody who stands on the way of progressing history, you know. And they described Mike Pompeo as a as a praying mantis who's he's nothing but a praying mantis that, you know, is useless and will die or whatever. So, you know, things are deteriorating between US and China. There were reports that China is going to take over as the largest economy far sooner, and the economic growth after coronavirus uh, has been outdoing everyone's expectations. So it's the US China relationship is the key relationship for the next 100 years probably. So it would be quite interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. The key relationship, and there's just so much to learn about it. I mean, for me personally, as soon as I don't make an effort to know about China or learn about China or like the relations and why it's important, of course, going beyond the couple of issues that you hear about all the time, it's just you don't hear about it, and there's so much to it, and it's just such a big part of the world, but we rarely talk about it. And yeah, it's just going to be more and more and more as we go on. It's just going to be a bigger and bigger issue, much more than what you hear about and you hear in the news. I don't mean like bad things. I just mean like, you know, it being important and then having so many layers. But yeah, and Biden should definitely take Pompeo's passport away from him. He already had his farewell trip. Okay, he went out. I don't know. It was some kind of like graduation trip that he was on for a few weeks. But just take
Yeah.
his passport and make him sit down for 2 minutes. I mean, now that you mentioned Biden, doesn't have much to do with this story, but his whole Al Qaeda thing a few weeks ago about Iran now being
Oh,
the headquarter of Al Qaeda was one of the most ridiculous things ever. But okay, coming back to the riot, anything else about that you kind of want to mention? We touched on a few things last time. One was that you know how the people at the riot, they shouldn't be confused with all the other kind of people who might not be in a good situation and they get kind of dragged into these politics. Washington Post had an article that they've at least like identified 15 off-duty police officers from different states who were part of the who were part of the
protest.
riot.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Yeah,
more is gonna-
there are major security
yeah.
concerns for the inauguration that is happening less than, I think, 24 hours, 23 hours or something from now, and from when we record this. And yeah, there are major security concerns. They are vetting all 25,000 National Guards coming into the Washington, and they are vetting. There was apparently a fire today, and because of that, they had to, you know, recheck everything. They are going full paranoid now, and I think, to be
Yeah.
honest, there are interesting. I saw a few talks on Bad Faith podcast, on Katie Halper show, on Useful Idiots, that the biggest worry for the left and stuff now is that the overreaction to this event is going to be so bad that they're going to start doing censorship on Twitter is going to become far more common. They may pass laws that are even worse than Patriots Act or something like that, because now you have somewhat even more, even Iraq war was bipartisan, but this is even far more bipartisan. And there are fears that there will be further clamping down on freedom of speech, on, you know, that type of thing. So I hope that doesn't happen,
Yeah, which is, I
basically.
mean, absolute bullshit. I mean, I can't believe, I can't remember who kind of made this point, but they were like all the things that they want to say to make law or everything that happened, they're already like laws, and what happened was already illegal. And from all accounts, it seemed like, you know, the proper efforts weren't taken to, you know, really control that riot and the protest. And I'm not saying they should have just gone and beaten up those people if they weren't doing anything, but it seems like, of course, they weren't serious in the way that they were trying to
I,
stop them. And
I was watching Katie Halper show. She did a great debate about, was it fascism, like beginning of the fascist movement, or was it not? Two different camps of academics and stuff. And to be honest, I was on the camp of it wasn't fascism. But but there was some gentleman who I forget the name, but I tried. You know, we put the link in the box, And he pointed out that as somebody who has been a political activist and has worked in Washington, he finds it extremely weird, and he thinks there must have been something up, because as somebody who's been a political activist, he said he got maced in his face for talking too loud or shouting or whatever. So it was extremely odd that the police was so underprepared, and it does show the difference between white and black people in America, at least in terms of
Yeah.
political activism and what they can get away with. So,
And I
yeah,
think
very
I
interesting.
find that with things like this, you don't need to be explicit about it for like something to go the right way. You know, if you're part of a party, like, you know, part of a political party, they don't come to you every single day and be like, you should say this, this, and that on that. They kind of expect that you have some kind of common sense and that you can like find yourself into that framework. So it can be normal, at least they hope. But
No,
you know
no,
what I mean? I mean, like when
yeah,
you
that's what
work,
they hope.
yeah,
In
when you
reality,
work for a specific government or like the UN organization, or if you work for Nike, they don't come and tell you every day, say Adidas is bad. But in your head, you're supposed to know that you shouldn't be like, you know, doing the bidding of Adidas. So I can see them just, you know, not taking these kind of protesters too seriously, not caring about them, not being something that they'll get recognition for, you know, maybe if they're too tight, they might, if they were like a bit too rough, they might even get in extra trouble for some reason. So I don't even think that there needs to be like an explicit attempt to, you know, let them do whatever they
oh
want. You can
yeah, yeah,
kind of,
yeah. There may be, it's the old thing that revolutions succeed when soldiers or police officers start seeing their own family members in the, pub in the protesters. So yeah, it's the
yeah,
same. Like, you feel
like,
like these are like your people or whatever,
yeah.
or as you said, many of them were actually police officers, or there were many veterans. Oh, this is a
And the
funny one.
president was giving them a speech
Yeah,
before
president was
that.
sort of was egging them on.
Not even
But
egging. I mean, at least he was definitely talking to them. I mean, he
yeah,
did
yeah,
hold a
yeah,
speech
sure.
before that. Yeah.
But just to end on a funny note, though, let me say that apparently Nancy Pelosi's laptop was stolen by one of the protesters, and then apparently the genius tried to sell it to Russians, like advertise it online to Russians, like KGB or whatever. And then yeah, thankfully police have caught him, have saved the
Yeah.
laptop, so Nancy Pelosi's secrets are
No.
safe. But yeah,
I
it's a
mean, yeah.
crazy.
I mean, I can see how at the moment it could have been scary, given whether you were there or like you're a police officer.
Oh,
And of course,
sure,
there were
sure.
some bad things that happened. People lost their lives, a few of them. But when you see, like, you know, after when you remove the bit from it, and then you see the way that they were acting in Nancy Pelosi's office or whoever, it kind of looked like, you know, kids had taken over the high school, and you know, but that was it. You know, you just had to calm them down, and then
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
goes
they,
home.
they,
So
they
I
seem
mean,
like, yeah, they seem like a bunch of. By the way, it wasn't just the physical threats and stuff, because as this is, I listened to this podcast, the Deconstructed podcast by Ryan Grimm, and he interviewed uh one congresswoman. Her name is so difficult. Jayam, I can't say it. I'm gonna fuck it up. But anyway, they were forced into a room, and they begged almost the Republican Congress people that please wear your mask, and they refused to wear their mask, and three people got COVID. One of them a 75-year-old lady, a Democratic lady. So there were other things that could have been, that could now she's. I mean, I listened to that podcast 2 days ago. I don't know if she has had health difficulties. She has recovered, but so yeah, there were quite a few dangerous things. But this was not, in my view, an organized coup d'état, or whatever. That it's been like Trump wasn't really planning to drive his supporters there, and you know what I'm saying.
yeah. I mean, no comment about that. And just like,
Yeah.
just one last word. Have you seen that
Very
clip?
politician of you.
Not try, it's just too ridiculous. But have you seen that one clip? This one, I mean, the girl, she got like maced or whatever in her face, and then she's like crying, and the person's like, "So why were you like storming into the Capitol?" Have you seen that one?
No,
And then
no, no.
she's like, Cause it's a revolution, and it's I don't know. It's just you have to see the clip. I think I just botched it fully, but you must have. It's like one of the most popular clips that have been going around about this girl. She's like,
To be honest, I haven't been
girl.
watching. I only saw the couple of pictures of the man in the bear costume
Oh,
and
but I was
the
gonna. Okay.
guy who stole the podium. He was fun.
But actually, if yeah, I haven't watched that many either. But I know who has Katie Halper. She had Max Blumenthal on, and they do like a CIA like breakdown of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the photos. Like
They,
he
they,
told
they,
me that person wasn't there. He never wears those pants. Like we know.
they, they, they identify somebody who's apparently basically somebody who just pours fuel on
Yeah,
fire type of figure. It was crazy. It was watching exactly like a CIA analysis video. Max Blumenthal had identified his brother and did an interview with. It was fun. I was gonna talk about that as well, but check it out for yourself. Max Blumenthal on Katie Alper's show. But yeah, it's too detailed and too thing. I'm gonna fuck it up. Too many
yeah.
names, too many family connections. The
Okay.
black brothers adopted by a Mormon
Yeah.
military. It's
Like
just
one
what
of
the
them
fuck
is
is
really
going
right
on?
wing, the other one is like
Yeah, yeah.
a fake leftist who made it on CNN. But the guy made it on CNN and everything, and I guess
That was
yeah,
whole point. I mean, he
yeah,
was saying he's selling Riot gear and stuff on his website, so that's his main. I guess that was his thing. I guess the argument is that he may be just
yeah,
trying to maximize his sales, which is a good tactic, I
yeah.
suppose.
And in that
That's
video, they
I mean,
point. Yeah.
he's using the same exact strategy that Boeing and Lockheed Martin uses, just
That's funny.
you play the both sides,
Yeah.
you start a fight. Yeah, so true American, following the American dream.
No, no,
That's Boeing and
definitely.
Lockheed Martin.
And then even in that video, there's like a nice little insight. I mean, you can interpret however you want, but that same guy that we're talking about, he turns into a documentarian. So this person who's like documenting QAnon and whatnot, and he's like, "Didn't I tell you it's gonna be like this?" Anyway, making it seem like a lot of them had, of course, talked about, rioting or like whatever, like breaking into Capitol, whatever they were trying to do, and it goes with the narrative that it was out there, that the information was out there, and if law enforcement wanted to do something about it, they could have easily known about it and taken more stringent measures. It's not like these people were, using Telegram and not WhatsApp to communicate like secretly or something. I'm pretty sure it was none of that.